Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation, brothers and sisters, is something that a brother wanted to do in spirit in bringing this out to the people. And that is, brothers and sisters, in dealing with the language. Now, many congregations in these days and times are dealing with the book of Exodus, some in the language of the Hebrew and some not. So, brothers and sisters, what we intend to do in this particular case is to get into part of the language. We asking you to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, share. We are on the channels, More Than Yeshaya Torah Lessons, More Than Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons, and the Facebook page, Yeshaya Author Danite. We ask you to get your pens, your pads, and your paper, and to take notes. We ask you all as well to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. Hoping and praying again that everybody is well and will be better. Again, we are on the channels, More Than Yeshaya Torah Lessons, More Than Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons, and the Facebook page, Yeshaya Author Danite. So, if I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, without any further ado, let us, brothers and sisters, get into this presentation. Thank you for that. We're going to start with the slideshow from the beginning in this particular case. All right. Again, hoping and praying that everybody is well and will be better in this particular case. Thank you for that, brothers and sisters. All right. Shalom, my lady Sarah. Thank you for participating with us and letting me know that it is heard well by pressing the number 4. Welcome to the channels, More Than Yeshaya Torah Lessons and More Than Yeshaya History Lessons. Oh, have to change that. We meant to say, brothers and sisters, Hebrew Lessons. Just a little error, sorry about that. Only human. All right, in this particular case. In the Facebook page, Yeshaya Author Danite, we ask you all to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We hope and pray that you all are well and will be better. We can be reached at the number 908-587-4841. Email yyisrael22@yahoo.com. Shalom, my brother, Yirmiyahu. All right, so let us continue in this particular matter. Thank you for that. Respect to my teachers. This presentation is based on Hebrew knowledge. We ask you all to get your pens, pads, paper, and take notes. We do not profess to know everything, and we are open to constructive criticism. Now, what do I mean when I say open to constructive criticism? There is a rebuke that is comely that King Solomon spoke about. In today's time, not taking nothing away from that statement, it's a statement that says there's a way in which to talk to people to get your point across. And so with that, never does a brother want to come off as arrogant, belligerent, can't stand to be told something, can't stand to be corrected, unteachable, and so forth and so on. So in light of that, we can make ourselves a vessel to be worked with before the Most High, to be able to sit there and see where the Most High has put one in a certain position and still be able to sit there and be taught by one or another. These things are very important for reference purposes. My teachers include More Mishael, More Hosea, may they both rest in peace. Ima Tamikya, may the Most High continue her life. Ima Naami, may the Most High continue her life. Ima Shoshana, may the Most High continue her life. Kohen Mikael, may the Most High continue his life. Adon Aharon, may he rest in peace. And of course, my mother, may she rest in peace. The presentation is brought to you all from the heart, and we hope you all learn from such shalom. Thank you for that. Now, again, we're going to, brothers and sisters, be dealing with Hebrew, all right, that is coming out of the book of Exodus. We started essentially at 4:45, and we do not, brothers and sisters, intend to be longer than an hour in this particular case. So what do we care to point out for reference purposes in this matter. That the language is important. And the more you get into the language, no, it doesn't make you a more righteous person. It does, however, make you more of a knowledgeable person in this particular case. It doesn't mean that you hold it up against anybody. It doesn't mean that you sit there and use it as a catalyst to sit there and disrespect anyone, brothers and sisters. What it means essentially is that you want to be a light to brothers and sisters. And in being that light, you don't want to, again, offend, disrespect, turn off, try to belittle, or anything of that sort. And these are things, brothers and sisters, that we care to bring out for reference purposes. Thank you for that, brothers and sisters. Now, this is a 10-part slide, and this is the second of the 10 slides. So we want to use this word here, yotze, going from or going forth. This word is referred to as a pay-yod verb, in that it begins with the letter yod. Now let's look at this, brothers and sisters. All right, we're going to circle where the letter yod is in this particular case. It's the first word, remembering that Hebrew is read from right to left. All right. Any questions, please feel free to type it into the chat. I'm able to see it on the Facebook. I'm able to see it on Mori Yeshaya History, Mori Yeshaya Torah Lessons, and Mori Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons. So again, any questions concerning what we're talking about, please do not hesitate to type it into the chat, brothers and sisters. All right. Now, the letter yod that we just circled, all right, is being squared there in that case. So we can sit there and see it for reference purposes. Thank you for that, family. All right. The root of such word comes from the word yatsa. This word, too, is referred to as a lamed aleph verb in that it ends in the letter aleph. All right. So, brothers and sisters, what are we looking at, if we will, for reference purposes with the timing allotted? All right. We want to show in as much real time as possible what we're dealing with for reference purposes, if we will. Right? Let's look at this, family, if we will, for edification purposes. Right? Let's look at this word here. All right? And it actually panned out the way in which I actually wanted it to. Good. All right. We're going to show this, if we will, and as much as pointed out, real time as possible. Right? And now let's look, if we will. Now I want to show it differently in this case, if we will. Right? This is the word yatsa. All right. So now let's go back here, if we will, to the slideshow from the current slide. Now, remember, brothers and sisters, looking at this with the laser pointer, if we will, right? The root of such word comes from the word yatsa. The word yatsa is what we're looking at right here. All right? This, what you're seeing on the right-hand side, spells the word yatsa. Because it begins with the letter yod, it's called a pay-yod verb. And because it ends with the letter aleph, it's referred to as a lamed aleph verb. All right? Shalom, Y42, and Shalom, Jared Judah. All right? The meaning of yatsa is in root to go out, to go forth. So what? Yatsa literally means he went forth or he went out. We also can say yazati means I went forth or I went out. So now that's for male or female. Yatzanu means we went forth or we went out. That's for male or female. Again, any questions? Please, again, feel free to type it into the chat for reference purposes. Asking you all to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for that, family, in this particular case. All right? So let's look, if we will, right? All right. The A, what do we want to look at right here with the laser pointer, if we will? The A we see in this shows it to be a plural matter. Yotz A. The root is yatsa in verb, meaning to go out in root. But now, Yotz A, this A that we see right here, that we're going to show in a different color, brothers and sisters, we want to show this in black, being shown there, and being shown in black there on the top, right? This A sound you see under the aleph shows it to be a plural matter. These are things we want to point out for grammar purposes. Any questions or comments, again, please feel free, type it into the chat. Let's continue, family, in this. We have the word here, akaiwa. All right. Now, we want to show this with the laser pointer. Thank you for that, family. This word means his brothers. We might already get the word ak, meaning brother, already that quick. The word for brother is ak. The word for brothers is akim. Now, for those not being funny, familiar with the movie Coming to America, you might be already familiar with akim. But now we want to point out that the word akim in Hebrew means brothers. So, if Ak is brother, and Aki is my brother, and Akim means brothers, how, brothers and sisters, do we say my brothers? That's a question I have in this particular case, right? How do we say my brothers in this particular case? If Aki means my brother, how do we say my brothers? So let's look, right? We have it in this particular matter here. And I want to sit there and show this with as much reference purposes as possible. Thank you in real time, as the saying goes. Thank you for that, family. So let's go back here, if we will. Slideshow from current slide, right? Now, you may not see the vowel under the aleph, right? But we already can assume, and I'm going to state what I'm saying in this, that it is the ah sound. So I'm going to just draw a sound there in that case in the yellow, right? Achai means my brothers. So Ak is brother. Aki is my brother. Akim is brothers. And Akai is my brothers. What I state or what I type holds the same amount of value. So now we have Akaiwa, which means his brothers. So his brothers and sisters, is Akaiwa. Do you see by default how much Hebrew we can gain and learn by just doing those simple things, by looking at some of the words that we see in the book of Exodus? Now, this is talking in part in Exodus about Joseph and his brothers passing away. I chose to not use words like mot or mawet for death because it's not necessarily the happiest of things. So, though it does exist, I try to go into Hebrew with words like bari for health, not kole for sick. You understand? Words like tob for good, not ra for bad. Words such as katuna for wedding, as opposed to karitut, which means divorce certificate. You understand? It doesn't mean that other things don't exist. It's just what energy that we care to point out on this particular case. All right, so let's go in, if we will. Thank you for that, family, brothers and sisters. All right, the word for brothers is akim. When we see ekaiwa, as we see here, right, we are seeing a noun that is shown in plural, his whatever. So what are we pointing out with this, brothers and sisters? Is this, right? We want to use the highlighter, right? The Iwa sound, the A-I-W, that we see from the ah, given that sound. In English, that is A, but we say ah, followed with a yod and a wow. And we see it right here. Followed with a yod and a wow. Garabaiwa, his socks. The word gereb means sock. Gerabayim means socks. Gerabaywa means his socks. So here we see what? Abotaiwa, generally said as his forefathers or his ancestors. So this Iowa sound at the end of a noun, as we get into grammar, means his whatever pluralized. Emotaiwa would mean his foremothers or his ancestors on the female side. Akot is sister. Akotaiwa is his sisters. Nakir is nostril. Nakiraiwa would mean his nostrils. So these are just things we want to point out. When it says his brothers, we can still see ak in there. All right? Any questions or comments concerning this, please feel free to type it into the chat. Thank you for that, family. That generation. Hador hahu. The word for generation is dor. The word for the generation is hador. Ha, as we see here, means the. Now we want to show this, all right, with the laser pointer. The word for that is hahu. In grammar, when saying that generation, that man, that sheet, we see that. Let's point this out. The word for man means what in Hebrew? Ish. Ish means man. I try to use vocabulary that we use frequently. Sidebar. Want to learn Hebrew? Learn the words that you see all the time in Hebrew. Whatever you're into, learn that vocabulary first. So if you are a truck driver, just using that as an example, Rakob means road. Nahel means en route to drive. Mekonit, which is more so modern Hebrew, do would say the word for car or a truck or a machine because they didn't have cars in ancient Israel. All right, just want to point that out. So you will want to use the vocabulary, brothers and sisters, that you use all the time. If you are a writer, the root for write is katab, paper, nayar, pen, et, iparon, pencil. And the same word for car is the same word for computer, which would be the word mechonit. So these, again, are things we care to point out. So ish means man, right? And so if we say that man, knowing that the word hahu means that, as we see there, we say ha-ish hahu. Ish, man. Zeh ish. This is a man. Ha-ish hahu. That man. Ish hahu means that is a man. But to say that man, just blatant like that, or just as forward, not just to sound negative, would be said as what? Ha-ish hahu. Are there any questions concerning this? And again, we want to show brothers and sisters with this in real time. So what I want to do is make this larger, if we will, for people. All right? For reference purposes. All right? So take it from that. You can sit there and screenshot this if you want to. Family, that is up to you for reference purposes. All right? Ish, man. Ha-ish, hahu, that man. So how you say woman in Hebrew? Anybody? Anybody in the chat? Whether you write in English letters or in Hebrew letters, how do you say woman or wife? All right? Thank you for that, Isha. The word is Isha. So, Zot Isha would mean this is a woman, right? So, that man would be Ha-ish, Ha-hu. So, that woman is Ha-isha Ha-hi, which is not shown here, but just want to state that for reference purposes. This is why we ask you to comment, like, share, and subscribe. These lessons we continue to bring forth, told out to the Most High for the ability to do so. Any questions or comments, please feel free to type it into the chat. Thank you for that. Now, paru. This word means en route to be fruitful. or be fruitful. This is from the verb para. This is referred to as a lamed hey verb in that it ends in the letter hey. So where, brothers and sisters, we'll deal with that in a second, sorry. When this is conjugated in the command and other forms, the hey letter drops out. The Hebrew word for fruit, which is the noun, is peri. So to the people into the health conscious matter, when you're eating your fruits, the word for fruit itself is peri. The noun of the verb para, or the word para, means cow. The masculine par means bull, because a bull and a cow shows one to be fruitful. Do we see how the Hebraic thought works? Now, this is very important. In the context of Exodus, the word paru means they were fruitful. Remember, it says in Exodus chapter 1, they were fruitful and multiplied abundantly, right? Well, the root of that is what we're talking about here in this case. And again, as is the custom, we want to show something in real time as much as possible. All right, thank you for that, family, in this particular case. So let's look at this, if we will, right? The word here, para, which we're saying in a verb, right, is a lamed hey verb, if we will, right? I want to show this with that as much as possible. Thank you for that. All right, copy. Excellent. Now, let's look at this. Para, you see there, right? But we said this letter hey or he, by some people's statement, right, is, and I want to show this, if we will, as large as possible within reason, is a very important letter. Now, this letter hey or he, right, brothers and sisters, serves as a prefix and a suffix. Remember when I was promoting this during the week, I was saying we want to get into grammar. Now, when this letter, brothers and sisters, you see here on the right-hand side, ends in a verb, right? It makes that verb a lamed hey verb. How that formulates, brothers and sisters, is take the word asa, which is on the channel Moreh Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons. Asiti means I did, and its root is asa. Para, to be fruitful. Pariti, I was fruitful. Parita, you were fruitful. And that's how that is shown in that particular case. Now, in the context of Exodus, the word paru means they were fruitful. So, brothers and sisters, we want to say this, right, for edification purposes. Thank you for that, family, for the time, if we will, right? Paru, brothers and sisters, is masculine or feminine. All right? And that's something we want to state for reference purposes. So if they are multiplying and it's all females, it's still paru. If it's all males, it's still paru. If it's mixed males and females, it's still paru. We just want to point that out. That in what is referred to in grammar as the third person masculine and feminine plural, which means they, whatever they did. They were fruitful, they walked, they went, they saw, they watched. It is always the same word. All right? Third person masculine and feminine plural is they. I am first person singular. We are first person plural. He or she is third person singular. They is third person plural. And that's something we want to point out. Any questions or comments, please feel free to type it into the chat. Wayish rozu, and they swamped. This word means and they swamped. The word for and in this is here. The word to is shown as a while consecutive in which the normal future tense word, any questions, please feel free to type it in, is put in the past tense. The past showing they is here. The root of this word is sharaz or sharats, meaning to swarm. You see that word sharats and root in Leviticus. Any swarming thing in the diet in Leviticus 11, anything that swarms in the ocean or in the waters by Mayim, you see that word sharats in root. So what are we pointing out with real time as possible? All right, is this. For those following along, thank you for that. Now, the word means and they swamp. The word for and in this is here. Now, you might sit there and see the entire word in that particular case. So what we're going to do, brothers and sisters, is show it looking at this point here, if we will, and then deal with it from this matter. Let us enlarge this for reference purposes. I wanted to, again, to show this in as much real time as possible. Now, when I say the word for and in this is shown here, where am I talking about? Let's show it. Right here. That first part there. And. At wah. All right, that we see here. Brothers and sisters, let us show this in this reference. Right? Let me sit there and take that part out, if I may. I'll have to do it this way. Thank you for that, family. Sorry. We want to show this with the laser pointer. Thank you for that. Wah. All right, let's make it a wah in this by making a sound underneath it. Let me sit there and erase that in that case and make it a little different with the pen. You might see the red there. I'm going to make it the sound with that. That's not working. This is not being friendly to me because I just want to sit there and just show it with just one line, not showing it for confusing purposes. That right there is me making it into a vowel in that case, right? Okay, so here's, look. This means and. All right? The word to is shown as a while consecutive because it begins in a while when normal, the future tense word is put in the past tense. So in Exodus 1, it says, and the land was filled with them and it was swamped with them. It's talking about Israel being in Egypt. That's the root word in that case, right? The part showing they is here. What do I mean when I say that? All right, with as much real time as possible. Thank you for that, family. Is this, right? Now let's look at this word again and show where the they part is at. Except this time I'm going to keep the whole word up there and go verbatim as much as possible, say with it. All right? Doom, doom, doom. If everybody is well and in good spirits, please type in, I'm asking you, the number 4. If everybody can hear me well and in good spirits, please type in the number 4. Now, this is not to sound arrogant, boastful, or so, but on my particular channel, brothers and sisters, I do ask, can I be heard? Because I don't want to sit there and be in the midst of something and I hear it 10, 15 minutes later that I wasn't heard. That's like, really? So I do ask, can you hear me? I'd rather that than saying, if you don't hear me, just let me know. No, I'd rather not do it like that. All right, in that particular case. All right. So we're going to sit there and do it like this, family. All right. In this particular case, follow me in this case. All right, because this is giving me a little of a headache, but let's just sit there and get into this, but not a literal headache, family. Don't sit there and say it like that. All right. And the children, Wayish Rezu. I want to show this whole thing for reference purposes. We can go back here if we will, bring this down if we will. Thank you for that, family. All right. Go over here. Thank you in as much real time as I try to sit there and state that as much as possible. All right. Good. Thank you for that. Okay, now looking at it in this case. Thank you, everybody, for typing that in. My lady Sarah, my brother Yirmiyahu, our guest elder Hebrew boy, and Y42. Shalom, my brother Adonia. How you doing? All right. So let's look at this, brothers and sisters. Now, when I say this part here, it says the word showing they is here. What am I talking about in this particular case? They, we want to color code it, highlighter, yellow, they. This is the they part right here, shown with the wow, the oo sound, showing it as a suffix. So in this whole word, you see there on the right-hand side, right? You have it to where there is a prefix, there's two prefixes and a suffix. So let's point out what is the prefix and the suffix, if we will. Laser pointer, but we want to color code this, right? In the red here, we see the first matter of the prefix. Then, brothers and sisters, in the green, we see the next prefix with the yod. And in the yellow, brothers and sisters, is the suffix. So you got two prefixes and one suffix. So let's look at this, sharav. That means to swarm. Again, that is the root of that in this particular case. Any questions? Please feel free to type it into the chat. All right, let's continue with the time allotted. Thank you for that, family. And they multiplied. Wayirbu. This word means and they multiplied. This is treated as a while consecutive in that the while is the first letter. Thus, the normal future tense word is treated as a past tense word. The part of they in the verb is here. We're going to show that. The root of the verb is arab. Now, how many people are familiar with the term Torah Rabbah? By pressing the number 1, which is the number I hardly ask. Are you familiar with hearing and or saying Torah Rabbah? Thank you for that, my lady Sarah. Thank you for that, my brother Yirmiyahu. Now, what does Torah Rabbah mean? Anybody in the chat? Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. Now, Torah would mean thank you or thanks. Now, when we say Torah Rabbah, what are we emphasizing on or saying in that particular case? Torah Rabbah means thanks a lot. Thanks much. As you might be seeing, we see the verb here, rab, shown there in the green, right? Thank you very much. Thank you for that, 12 tribes of Israel. Thank you for that, my brother Yirmiyahu. Right? Rab meaning much or many. So that toda, ending in the ah sound, rabah. The adjective must agree with the noun and the verb in gender and in pluralization or singular. This is part of the grammar that we want to get into in Hebrew, right? So let's show this, if we will, with the laser pointer. This is treated too like an ayin waw verb in that en route we can see it as rub. In matters of the ayin waw verb, the waw is the second root letter. In matters of the ayin waw verb, we see that the waw drops in the past tense. Brothers and sisters, all of this we want to point out becomes important to understand for reference purposes in this manner. All right, let's look at it, if we will, brothers and sisters. We have here, right, the word rab, right? We're going to copy it from there, put it here, if we will, rab. Then we have, brothers and sisters, the word rub, all right, for reference purposes, if we will, right? So now, when we deal, brothers and sisters, with the word we see in Exodus chapter 1, right? Let's us get into this and show where we're going in this particular matter. All right, thank you for that, brothers and sisters. All right, I see I'm going to have to sit there and pull this part up again. Doesn't want to be friendly with me by showing a wow in this case. So let's look, if we will, family. Thank you for that. And we're going to go back here, if we will, right to Exodus and take it from the actual portion, in this case here again, for friendly purposes, and show what we're talking about. Because when we want to get into Hebrew, brothers and sisters, we want to sit there and get and dissect as much as we can for reference purposes, to be able to, as the saying goes, expound upon. Because elders done told me more than once, stop saying break it down, because break it down is the opposite of what you're trying to do. You want to build it up. Elders have told me, so I don't say break it down anymore. I'd rather say a matter of, brothers and sisters, expound upon or explain. Hebrew Boy writes in the book of Genesis, it says everything God made was very good. So does that mean the serpent was corrupted sometime later? That's not. We will deal with that particular question after this particular matter. I appreciate that. But while we're in the zone and talking about this in its own particular case, we're going to stay with the portion here with the Hebrew, and then we can address the matter of the serpent or the Nakash, which can get into Hebrew later on after we get this. Thank you for the question, though, nonetheless. All right, so let's look. When we get into this right here, all right, for looking at the slideshow, if we will, right, from current slide, we see this here for reference purposes. Laser pointer. The root of the verb is rob, as we see there on the top right. This is treated like an ing verb in that the root can be seen as rub. So where is the wow, brothers and sisters? We want to show with the highlighter. Wow, shown here, highlighted, is shown here on that side, if we will. This gets very important. In matters of the ing wow verb, everything that's shown in yellow has to do with the wow at this case. And the wow is the second root letter. So in rub, the verb meaning to be many or to multiply, right? To be many or to multiply, it drops when you conjugate it in the past tense. So therefore, it is not rawabti, it's rabti, rabta. It drops in that case in the past tense. Any ing verb is a verb that has the letter wow as the second root letter. Any questions about that? Please feel free to type it into the chat for reference purposes. Thank you for that, brothers and sisters. Right? Now let's look at this word here, brothers and sisters, that we're going to show with the pen underlined there in red. Right? And we're going to erase some of the, let's erase it all, and then I'll put it back. Right? Why yurbu is what this word here says. Remember, Hebrew is read from right to left. Hebrew is read from right to left. So we want to show where the prefix is in this case, right? By showing it, if we will, with the highlighter, right, in this color. This wow serves as a prefix. This yod serves as the second prefix. And brothers and sisters, what I'm typing or what I'm stating holds the same amount of weight. So please, if you have any questions about what's stated, please let me know. You drop that off. If you were dropping off all of the prefixes and every suffix, you still have the resh and the bet. So what are we pointing out, brothers and sisters, in this case here? Right? I want to color code it for reference purposes. Right? Highlighter with a different color, if we will. Shown here circled and shown here circled. So let's look at this by making it a little neater, if we will, for reference purposes. Erase. Erase. I'm going to put that back, family, for those following. Right? And here we got, brothers and sisters, for color-coded purposes, that resh and that bet. That resh and that bet. That resh and the bet. The resh and the bet, as you've been following along. The resh and the bet. Rob never drops off, is my point in this. So, brothers and sisters, are there any questions concerning and they multiplied? Any questions about what is the waw consecutive? The waw consecutive is also said in Hebrew as the waw hakipuk, is when a root letter, pardon me, is when a verb has a prefix of the word wa or wa or we, and therefore it transforms from its normal past tense to the future or its normal future tense to past. I asked brothers, what do they think is the commonly used Hebrew letter? I was saying the letter mem. My brother Rob, funny, we going over the word Rob, that's the man's name. Much respect to the community in Goshen in Georgia. The brother Rob Jodidan said he believes in understanding to be the letter wow. And I have to change my mind and concur. Because wow is used as a prefix, wow is used as a suffix, and so forth and so on. So it is more so used than the letter mem. Sidebar. All right. So any questions about this, please feel free to type it into the chat. Thank you for that, family, for reference purposes. Tikrena. You all will call, they will call. This word tikrena means you all will call, they will call. This is a word that comes from the root quara, meaning to call in root. Okay, I put root twice. All right. The prefix tau shows the word to be a future tense word. The tau also shows it to be a feminine. The suffix na shows it to be in a plural form. So what are we pointing out in this case? If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, because I just dropped something that I need to use. If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, my lady Sarai. So let's look at this with the laser pointer. All right. All right, let's look at this. We want to again show this as we close out this particular presentation, right? We probably just may as well go over here in Exodus because it's going to give me a problem trying to do that, right? And now remember that being in verse 10, tikurena. Now try to use words that's not commonly used in speech so we can expound upon it and gain a knowledge of the pattern of how Hebrew works, because Hebrew does have a pattern to it. All right. So let's look at this and go back here for, reference purposes. Right? Hebrews read from right to left. So we're going to, all right, go into the slideshow, current slide, if we will, right? Laser pointer. All right? Tikrena. This tau has the kirik making its E sound. All right. And then we have, I want to sit there and show this. You have that E sound with that called that kirik. Let's gain as much info about this as we can, family. All right. That ain't going to work. I use a different color in that case to follow it myself. In that case, that letter is called a kuf. In that case, the vowel with it is called a shawah. For those familiar in far as reading Hebrew goes, you join it with the sound beforehand and continue reading. So then I'm going to show that a little bit further as we go along, as we close out. All right. Thank you all for the time in this case. Not wanting to be over an hour, but don't want to rush either. I start at 4:45. It's now 5:30. This resh shown there with the blue underneath it, that vowel is the sound as in pen or bet or set. All right, in that case, quarter said goal in, say, modern Hebrew, if you will. There were obviously sounds. So even if it wasn't written vowels, you had to speak with sounds because all languages are spoken before they're read. What happens when people sidebar say Hebrew has no vowels, you're looking at it first by reading and speaking. But if you are a child who cannot read or write, you still know how to speak. So we already know that in speaking, you got to have different sounds in order to convey certain thoughts. So by default, yes, Hebrew, whether it's written in or not, did have vowels. All right. So this is something we want to point out in that case. Now, let's look at this, brothers and sisters, in this particular matter. Right? You have the na here, the suffix, shows it to be its plural form. We have, brothers and sisters, here, in this case, the tau, right? The tau, prefix, the tau, all right? That is a prefix. That na, that we're going to use the color yellow for, again, if we will, right, is a suffix. So what are we left with? The kuf, the resh, and the aleph. And root means quara, all right? And we want to show where we talked about it on this side by using purple right here. All right. You might look to the left-hand side, if you will, right? And see that word quara, that kuf, that resh, and that aleph. Kuf, resh, aleph, which is one of my favorite words to use. Those familiar with the Torah heavily, you might see Leviticus said as wahikra. That word wahikra has that kuf, resh, and aleph in it. Now, let's look at this, brothers and sisters, right? And go back, if we will. Remember over here, we said this word yatsa, shown here, ends in what letter? Aleph. So what is we saying, or what can we say, brothers and sisters, right? With this word, copy, want to show here. All right, in this case, going back over here to the slideshow, Kuf Resh Aleph. And over here, we have Yod Zadeh Aleph. So let's look, brothers and sisters, and see what we can ascertain, if we will, for reference purposes. Right? Copy, going back over here, if we will. Thank you for that, family. And let's look, if we will. We have here home, layout. I'm going to put it as new slide. We have here Yatsa, and over here we have, brothers and sisters, the word quara. Again, any questions or comments concerning what we're talking about, please do not hesitate to ask. I don't mind repeating and so forth and so on. I appreciate the people who respect me enough to even want to hear Brother Good into this kind of subject. I'll be the first to say pick your teacher. And if I'm that person, I appreciate and respect that very much. And let's look. They both, brothers and sisters, getting back over here in the slideshow, right? So let's look at the highlighter. Aleph. Aleph. They both end with the letter Aleph. So Yatsa and root meaning to go out, and Quara and root meaning to call or to read or to name, are both treated, brothers and sisters, if we were following over here, right? This word too is referred to as a lamed aleph verb in that it ends in the letter aleph. Aleph being the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. I don't know why some scholars say that the letter aleph is guttural. I don't understand how that is if it holds no sound, so it can't be a guttural, but that's another subject. So getting back, if we will, into this, right? Yatsa and Quara. Its similarities, brothers and sisters, is that they're both treated as a lamed aleph verb. See, when we start talking about Hebrew is easy, that's something that we want to get into. Hebrew is not difficult. If you like, and I'm going to go there, if you like weapons, the word for sword is kereb. And I'm not trying to be cynical or funny. I remember one time I was doing a presentation because you got those who respect you. Shalom, my brother, Adonai, saying, we appreciate you, Moray, and I appreciate you too, my brother. When you find people who are haters, and the Most High spoke about haters when he introduced himself to Israel at Mount Sinai, says to all of those who hate me in to the third and fourth generation. The Hebrew says, Lason I, meaning to my haters. Now, who says haters? As a people, we do. The Most High stated, Lason I to my haters at Mount Sinai. Mount Yehoram in Saudi Arabia is the only mountain that has it being burnt on the top of it. That is where the commandments was given. The only mountain in the world that has, as if you read in Exodus 19, that the whole top of the mountain was smoke and the top of it was burnt, is in the land of Saudi Arabia where Midian was, where Moses was taught to bring the children of Israel to receive the law. But that's in archaeology. Just want to point that out, sidebar. So let's look at this, if we will, brothers and sisters, right? I remember saying that the word sword is kereb. And somebody, and that being a hater, not trying to get sidebar or in my feelings, well, the word is not really pronounced with the W, it's just sword. That video was over 2 hours, and that's the only thing you can sit there and state. Not that I don't mind correction, but just know that there are those, when you present yourself, that are for you in your corner, and then there are those who are just there. I'm looking to see a mistake. Ha ha. It comes with the territory. You understand, family? So again, let's look at this, if we will, right? We have here the word yatsa and the word quara, both ending in the letter aleph. Any questions about what a lamed aleph verb is? My number, brothers and sisters, I want to state, I can put, if I didn't already, let me see, family, across the screen, 908-587-4841, 908-587-4841. All right. So let's continue, brothers and sisters, in this particular matter. All right. And this is the last part of the presentation. With no saf, and it will be added. This word wanosaf means and he will be added. All right, so let's look at this with the laser pointer. The and comes from the word nosaf. The word nosaf means to be added in root. This is a nifal verb stem because there's 7 verb stems. We mostly focus with the qual. This is now the nifal. Check the description of the discussion in the nifal stem. Hebrew lesson number 40. Now, when you look at this, when this is uploaded, you can go in the description of the video and see where the nifal stem is described in detail. Or you can go on Hebrew, Mori Yeshaya Hebrew lessons, and go into the part that says Hebrew lesson number 40 for those interested, all right? Where I get into that much more in detail than I will right now. The nifal is the passive of the qual stem. And the matter of nosaf, which is the nifal stem, and the qual is yasaf. Yasaf sounds like Joseph. Yes or no? Correct me if I'm wrong. See where we're going? When Rachel gave birth, she named him, according to some, Yosef, meaning adding. Some say Yehoshaphat, meaning the Most High will add. You do see Joseph's name in the scriptures in Genesis as one part said as Yehoshaphat, which means the Most High will add. Meaning add to you. In this particular mindset Raquel had, meaning add another son. All right? Yasaf means en route to add. Nosaf en route means to be added. Do we see how that flow is in that particular case, brothers and sisters. All right. So let's look with the timing allotted. All right. And let me just go right back here into Exodus, if we will. Right. And take it from this part here. Sorry about that, family. Now, sometimes it may seem redundant or repetitive. I try not to be, but sometimes when you going in and expounding upon, we want to sit there and ascertain and gain as much as possible. Again, I respect the audience, the brothers and sisters, the elders, and as I have no problem, I respect my teachers as they was shouted out earlier. All right. Now let's look at this, if we will, family. Let's go over here to the slideshow. Current slide. This being the last slide of the presentation with the timing allotted. Right? We have here highlighter, right? That serves there. That wow serves as what? A prefix. Because remember, Hebrew goes from right to left. So then we're left, brothers and sisters, and we want to show this, if we will, in blue. Nah, let's make it green. Why? Because that was mommy's favorite color. I don't know, maybe being in my feelings. So let's look at this. No south. Right? No south. No south. Means en route to be added. No soft T, I was added. No soft ta, you was added. Now, brothers and sisters, any verb that has, as we want to point out here, color coding it differently, if we will, in this, yasaf, right? Mean to add. No soft means to be added. Yasaf is treated as what is referred to as a pay-yod verb because it begins with the letter yod. Right? Now, when you take it from the matter of the active, which is to add, and make it passive, which means to be added, that yod drops off and becomes a noun. This is not to play salesman, but stay tuned. After the timing of me and my lady's wedding, I do intend to come out with a book expounding upon this in much more detail. So these are things, brothers and sisters, that we want to point out. But the nifal stem is expounded upon, brothers and sisters, inside of the description in Hebrew lesson number 40 for those who are interested. All right? So erase that, erase that, erase that for reference purposes. All right? So what do I mean, brothers and sisters, by the yasaf being active and the nosaf being passive? To add is an action. To be added, the action is being done to something. All right? I very rarely will sit there and show my face in this, but I'm going to, for reference purposes, if we will, family, right? My hand is here. My other hand, which is my right hand, is active. My left hand is passive because my left hand is just getting hit while my active hand is that. So this is active moving. This is passive. One is the hand that is doing the hitting is active. The hand that is being hit is passive. So I just want to show, brothers and sisters, what active and passive is for reference purposes. All right? And giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. Thus ends this presentation. I can be reached at 908-587-4841 for those who are interested. Thank you all for the time. It is appreciated. I was asked, in the book of Genesis, it says everything Elohim made was very good. So does that mean the serpent was corrupted sometime later? Maybe. That could be a possible matter. And that's the answer I have for that. With that, giving honor and praise unto Yah, creator, maker of heaven and earth. Shalom.